Hello everyone, DonTheCrown here. Torchlight Infinite Overrealm season is coming soon. I want to do a quick video talking about the changes for the Outlaw season mechanic. As Gone Core, we basically had a whole bunch of cool loot and stuff that we were able to get last season, and the majority of this is all staying in terms of like the stuff that you can actually drop, but there is some major changes to basically the sequences specifically and the void chart. Let's start off real quick talking about these sequences, and most of the most popular sequences are just gone, which kind of sucks. Most of the like super advanced ones are gone. So like Corona, Heart of Corona is gone, Apocalypse, all of that stuff is just not going to be in the game anymore. The one that gave you Flat Wilt is also gone as well, and I'll put a link to this as well down below so you can check it out. Also stuff like 8% additional damage for weapons that has been reduced down from, I think it was 10% before. So we can kind of see here that we're just going to have a little bit less power, 10% here for additional weapons. We're basically getting less power for all of these. And pretty much they took several of the basic sequences and they pushed them up to intermediate sequence at the same time as they nerfed down the amount of power they gave. Now, admittedly, sequences were one of the biggest power creeps I think that we've ever gotten in any season, simply because they were just everywhere on every character, really easy to get, and just, you know, overall pretty easy to set up. Some of the advanced ones were pretty hard to set up though. And so, you know, that's kind of, you know, loss of the tippity top end. Now, some of these have stayed. So like Explosion, for example, the damage for dexterity and strength kind of is here. And like, you know, these are a little bit nerfed down from their old stat numbers, I believe. We did get this new main skill supported by level 25 Steamroll. This goes on like Claw and One-Handed Sword. It's probably going to be the sequence of choice for Rosa 2, simply because this is just a great support that you can potentially get. I think Steamroll is like a pretty sizable damage increase at level 25. And it actually might even be better than what we're using this season. So at 25, it's 43% more damage. You do lose 15% attack speed, but that's better than the negative 20 weapon, but 30% additional attack damage. So we actually got a little bit of a buff here for Rosa 2, which is kind of funny. But yeah, that's kind of like where we are right now with the sequences. And you can kind of like look through here at all the different ones you want. The Aura ones all got kind of a little bit of a nerf as well, which is not really all that surprising. They're quite strong. I think the only ones that really survived are the ones that were giving blessings. So it does -1 blessing and then +1 of the other two. And those pretty much survived intact. I don't think that those got any changes. And yeah, it's just kind of interesting to see how they dialed these down. Now we did get this one here. I don't know if this is something we already had, but immune to crowd control effects. I think this could be a very popular sequence for this next season, because there is a prism that's going to give you, they changed the numbers down to 15% more damage for every single crowd control effect on an enemy, and those crowd control effects get reflected onto you. And so now that those crowd control effects, you just be immune, you'd be able to apply all of those to enemies willy-nilly without any sort of issue. And that's like a 90% multiplier, which is pretty wild, but, you know, do cost you a shield sequence spot here. Now, if we're going to go look at the Outlaw talent constellation, this thing is pretty huge. And you can pretty much break this down into, on the left side is about buffing the monsters that you are killing during the mechanic. So things like monsters from reinforcements more likely be rare monsters, or you get 30% additional drop quantity from them. You also get another drop quantity from personnel after you kill a whole bunch of them, and then you get more drop quantity from them. So this basically makes the guys that you're killing that pop out of the truck drop you more loot, whereas the other side here kind of sacrifices some of that. And for example, like negative 40% additional drop quantity for security personnel. But this does buff out all the bounties. So you have a 100% chance for bounty orders to reveal an additional bounty reward. So double loot basically, or maybe like double bounties. It's not really sure exactly how that works, but that's pretty cool. And so like bounty stuff all over here. And then basically the more escorts you beat, the more likelihood that you have to get an additional bounty chest, which is pretty cool. And then over here, you get like bonus supply triggered during a carjack, chance to get triggered again. And then I think this node here is probably worthless, where priceless weapons dropped by the tower supply caches have a 3% chance to carry advanced sequences. I mean, people probably still take this because advanced sequences are going to probably be very expensive this season, but the likelihood of dropping a priceless weapon that is good, that also happens to have a good advanced sequence that matches up, is probably going to be very rare. Just more bounty stuff over here, and the more chance to drop tower tokens when over here. That tower tokens are all the gambling stuff at the top here. One of these ones is going to be super duper popular this season. It's going to be the tower token affix. Pretty much nobody used this current season, because if you go into hot streak to use it, you realize that it's basically unusable. So what it would do is it would re-roll all of the values of the gear, kind of like a truth fossil does, except for it would cost you 64 truth fossils, and truth fossils are about 15 to 16 FE. So that meant that you had to spend 1000 FE to gamble on 0 to 100% divine roll. It was just horrible, not very good. And so those are going to be way more popular now because they do not require truth fossils. So people will definitely be gambling their gear, especially their tippity top end gears. They're trying to get to like 100% gear. And supposedly they also made the odds more likely for you. And that's pretty much it. I'm going to have a ton of videos going on for all of the different updates and stuff, playing out a ton of videos. So keep an eye on the YouTube, subscribe if you want to know what's going on, pop in the Discord, come say hi, or come by the stream. Later.